Hey everybody, it is Kyle. I'm coming to you with the latest episode of Hawk Picks, and I want to talk a little bit today about what's worked best for us. We've been doing this coming up on a year and a half here, and I want to talk a little bit about how it's worked out for us and what we've found to be our strengths and weaknesses, but primarily what's worked best for us and what we've figured out in these last 18 or so months. So I will be right back after the break and we'll talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, tune in, you know the name now. Hawk Picks, we running the game now. From the thrift to the flip.
Okay, so what has worked best for us? Well, I can tell you that everybody has their individual strengths and their strongness. Appliances, electronics, rare media, that kind of stuff is my game. And I tend to find things like that tend to be worth a lot of money. And we knew that kind of going in. That's kind of the whole reason this business even exists, is because it originally started out with me seeing some videos, on YouTube of guys that were out and about. And I say guys, it's like anything else, unfortunately. It's a guy's game. But that's true. But I see these videos of these guys going out and they'd find these DVDs or these VHS or even Blu-ray that have not been reprinted in newer formats. And so they're worth a lot of money. And so me being a media consumer and lover, whether it be records or movies, I'm able to literally be across a room and I can see the spines of records or DVDs. Not all of them. I'm not Superman, but I can see that and I can kind of recognize, oh yeah, that's, that, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. I know what that record is. So I can identify that kind of stuff from a distance. So I figured, based upon what these people were saying they were able to do on YouTube, and my instinct when it comes to media, that this could be something that could be a side business, a side hustle that could bring us some profit and help us make some money. It might be a fun hobby, Other people were doing it. There's people making millions of dollars a year selling stuff on eBay and other online sales sites. So I kind of figured, hey, let's give it a shot. And so that's where it really started. And so that's my game. I know media really well. I also know electronics and different types of electronic equipment, whether it be computer equipment or audio visual equipment, that kind of stuff I know pretty well. And then last but not least, I'm familiar with appliances and, whether it be countertop appliances, that kind of stuff, or kitchen type things. I mean, those are things I just know instinctively. And so we just figured that would be a good thing for me to focus on when we go out and we go to these sales, garage sales or thrift stores or whatever. That's kind of my jam. Okay. So now I want to go into real quick. I want to talk about the bottom three sales, profit-wise, and the last will be the least profit. Okay, so these are what have sold, but not for what we really hoped for, and we didn't make a lot of profit on. It's probably not worth our time, but that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. All right, and I am bringing in one of the items that is from the electronics. Gentleman I've been working with that I met on Facebook Marketplace, because these things just don't sell well. Anyway, I'll talk about it when I get to it. So, and it'll actually be the first thing. So, so here we go. All right. Let's see. The least amount of sales, the lowest profit item that we've had, would be one of the, and I have a lot of these. I think I bought 10 of them for $5 each. But they're USB-C or Thunderbolt 4, I believe is what it's called, to USB-A adapters, but they're official Apple products, okay? if you go to Apple's website and buy them, they're like at least $20. I want to say they're $30. You can get them on Amazon and stuff for probably $15, $20. Anyway, long story short, probably $25. But long story short, I bought 10 of these because the guy had them, and I just want to see how they would sell. But you can't really sell these for very much. So even though this item sold for like $20, and I covering shipping, by the time it's all said and done, there's only $6.84 in profit on this. It's just not worth it to sell them individually. To sell them in a lot of however many I have left, which is what's going to happen, that is where it's at. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing, because making $6.84 a pop on these, yeah, it's a profit still. It's just really not worth the time. So I'll have to figure out if it's even worth the time to put them all into one deal and sell them all together, or just leave it as is and let them trickle out. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out, but they're definitely not bringing in the profit as some of the other items that we have from the same gentleman. All right, the next thing is actually a piece of media. Now, like I say, media is my jam. I'm not always perfect at it, but I do look for rare media. And something I've noticed is there is some very rare religious media that can sell really well. So when I see stuff like that and it's sealed or it's very, very odd and rare, I tend to gravitate towards that. Sometimes that works out incredibly. Sometimes it doesn't. This is one of the times it doesn't. This particular DVD was called Patterns of Evidence, the Red Sea Miracle, Part 2 of 2. Granted, if I'd have had Part 1 of 2 and put them together and lotted them, they probably would have flown off the shelf. I would have made some money. But this one, it sat around for almost a year, and we ended up making $6.98 on it. It really wasn't worth it. And, another thing that's kind of going along, and I'll tell you once I get to this last one here, another thing that's going along with these low profit sales that we've had recently is the fact that I was still covering shipping on these items. And so what I would recommend, especially since shipping has gone up through the USPS, there's an 8% surcharge now for fuel. I'm not going to be political, so I'm not going to go into why. But there's a surcharge. And so shipping's even more. But that puts a hindrance on it. It also helped me realize something. Screw this free shipping stuff. I mean, on clothing, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but it's still not cheap. Really, on media, it's not a big deal because it's usually like $4.47, and it's not going to go up. That's not going to go up for media mail, but ground shipping, ground advantage, that sort of stuff is going up, and priority, all that stuff's going up. So I don't think I'm going to be offering free shipping on a lot of things anymore because it really, granted, it's only a few cents, but it adds up over all your sales. I mean, it can cost you a lot of money. So it just really depends on the object. And so if you're selling like a one-off deal, it's not worth it. If you're selling a lot of things, yes, like the rest of those USB adapters, if I have 6 of them left and I sell, hey, buy this lot of 6 for however much, it may be worth me covering shipping. It might not be. It just depends on what it is. And then the last deal, the item, actually I went the wrong way. The least profit was the Apple USB-C to USB adapter. The next least profit, or the next higher profit, was that Patterns of Evidence. We made $6.98 on that. And then the Killer Snails Assassins of the Sea card game. Now this is from like a museum. You get like maybe in a museum gift shop. But I came across this game, and that's kind of another thing for us, puzzles and board games. We started out pretty heavy in those when we started doing this. And it seemed like, I would sell these puzzles and, whoa, hey, another puzzle sold. Man, we paid $1 for that. And, we sold it for $40. You can do that, but that's going to be a rarity. Most of the time you're going to sell them and you're going to just make a few bucks, less than $10. So it's not always worth it. You have to be aware of what it is you're buying. When it comes to gaming, I would select games that are sealed. That's a big deal. And not always. I have 2 Hallmark Special Edition Monopoly games that aren't going anywhere, and they're brand new sealed. And when I do sell them, the profit will be minimal, okay? But other games that are sealed, that are older, sometimes you can make some money off those. And then just board games in general that are older or big. So one famous one that I sold that actually ended up being a lot of profit was a Mouse Guard game. Now, Mouse Guard is this fictional world in which these mice have a whole society, and there's some noble knights within it, and that is the Mouse Guard. And yeah, anyway, I know about it because I actually had some free comic book comics, which I have up for sale right now, by the way, if you're interested. But I have a lot of 2 of those that I got on Free Comic Book Day a few years ago. One of them is actually a hardback, which is really cool. So I knew about Mouse Guard, and I happened to be in a thrift store. I looked over, I see this board game, this Mouse Guard board game. And really, it's not even I wouldn't even call it a board game. It's a tabletop game, more like along the lines of Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. And opened it up and looked at it. It seemed like it was brand new. The box looked perfect on the outside. It wasn't brand new, but it had mostly been unused. Not all the little perforated cardboard characters had been popped out. Like, it looks like maybe somebody got it and they started to mess with it, and then they just gave up and decided not to play it because it's very difficult. But I ended up selling that thing right away, and we made like $70 on that thing. So you can make money off of board games, and the same with puzzles. I've sold puzzles where I've made, $50 off of a puzzle. You can make money off those things, but you have to be picky, right? Which is going to be a theme in this episode, by the way. So sit tight. Okay, so yeah, the Killer Snails Assassins of the Sea card game only brought us in $7.32. As you'll notice, all 3 of those items, that's less than $10. Really, we're shooting for $20 profit on everything we purchased to sell. So these didn't fit that bill. Really, 2 out of those 3 things are from a while back before we established that amount. And then the third thing is just a kind of I hate the term, but a brain fart on my part when it comes to those Apple adapters. I just figured Apple branded products that are sealed, people are going to buy it, right? And you're going to make money. And that's kind of true. Not always. I have a sealed Apple wireless keyboard with keypad, with the number keypad. It's not going anywhere. Nobody's even looking at it. So I've paid $100 for one of those used. This thing's brand new sealed, and I don't have it for anywhere near $100, and it doesn't seem to be moving. So you have to kind of do your research. You really got to look into these things before you go into them. And, you don't want to do too much research either, because that's more of your time. So if you're spending too much time trying to figure out if it's going to sell or not, probably walk away unless it's a giant item, right? For me, with that keyboard, it's just not worth the time that I've put into it already. And the same with these USB adapters. Not worth my time. So you have to kind of go with your gut instinct on these things. And this is something you're going to pick up over time, okay? All right. So what else has worked best for us besides me looking at electronics, rare media, video games, appliances? A thing that has worked really well would be my lovely wife, April. She is really good with shoes, mostly men's shoes. Men's products, whether it be clothes, shoes, other accessories, tend to sell better than women's, okay? There's a lot of reasons for that I've heard, a lot of theories. But probably the one that makes the most sense to me is guys would be more comfortable buying that stuff on eBay, right? Guys would be more comfortable buying those items used, and guys would be more comfortable buying those things without trying them on in person. So there's that aspect of it. And I think that's probably it, to be honest with you. Now, if you know a product and you have a brand of product, like that if I wear these Levi's jeans, a specific model of Levi's jeans, and I have 3 pairs of them and they always fit perfectly, I can probably go on eBay and buy more pairs of that exact model of Levi's jeans, and they're going to fit perfectly, right? So that can work for you. But men are probably more comfortable with that sort of thing, and I don't think women are. I really don't. I think that they need more time to try things on, see how it looks. They're more picky about how they look and stuff, and I think that has to do with our society. And there's good things and there's bad things about that. Maybe, you could say men need to be more picky, right? And you could say we put too much pressure on women to be that picky. There could be a lot of different aspects to it. I don't know. Long story short, I just think guys are more cool with buying things like that on eBay, and I don't think women are. But my wife is really cool with and good at finding men's shoes that are in great shape and sell for a lot of money. We have sold some Converse, and we've sold some Vans that are worth silly amounts of money. And at the same time, I have some Converse that have been sitting around for a long time. And I just actually invested in a bunch of Converse, which might take some time. There'll be big profit when it happens, but it might be a while before it happens. She's able to find shoes and stuff that do tend to sell pretty quickly and sell for a good profit. So there's that. She's also really, really good, and this will come into the top sales, actually. She's really good at finding interesting, rare antiquities, okay? The carriage bell story, you've heard. She found that bell, paid like $5 for it, or $8, I don't remember. But we sold it for $350. She saw it. She was at a garage sale on her own. She was like, well, this is interesting. What is this? Sent me some messages on it. We looked it up and everything. And yeah, we knew it was worth money. Ended up selling it pretty quickly for like $350. It's definitely the biggest swing profit we've had for anything, short of things that I've actually owned that we've sold. And then there's also the Easter tea sets that she got. The kids kind of play tea sets that are actually, actual tea sets that were still sealed in boxes. I think she paid $8 a piece for those. We sold all 3 of them for a good profit. So she's really good at seeing things like that and finding things like that. So when we go into a thrift store, we go to a garage sale, I break off and go this way, and she breaks off and goes this way. And then, we may circle around and find other things, but primarily that's what we're going to be looking at. Another thing with garage sales, there's a couple different garage sale apps I would suggest you guys take a look at. And they're actually, I think they're even email things that you can get, like newsletters. It's garagesaletracker.com. And then it's like garagesaleads.com or something like that. I would highly suggest you check those out and get in on those, because that's where you're really going to get a lot of hints on what's coming up, garage sales in your area. And you can actually take a look at some of the stuff they have for sale before you even go to the garage sale. Decide if you want to go to that garage sale, even though I would not recommend avoiding a garage sale. Even if you're driving by it and you look over and you're like, nothing really there, you still should probably stop and get out and go look, because you'd be surprised. Sometimes that's where you find the best stuff. GarageSaleFinder.com. You can go and subscribe to an email newsletter that they'll send you stuff, and you can kind of get an idea of what's going on in your area. A lot of time they'll have pictures. And then the other one is garagesalestracker.com. A lot of times it's redundant, I will tell you. But that's not entirely bad either. Sometimes if you see something twice, it sticks in your head a little bit more than if you just see it one time. Okay? You can look right past it. So, yeah, take a look at that. Sorry, I need to take a drink of something. My throat's getting a little raspy. I've had a tough time with allergies this year. I don't know about you guys, but it might have something to do with the fact that it was 80 yesterday and today it's going to be 50. It may have something to do with the fact that it was 90 some degrees and then it was 30 within 2 days a few weeks ago. It's insane. It's all over the place, and it's messing with the plants, and the plants are messing with me. So, meh, wham, wham, boo-hoo. All right. Okay, so top sales. Let's go with the top sales And I'm going to start actually at the lowest profit, and I'm going to go up to the highest profit, kind of like I did with the last one, even though I said the opposite. And also, this is going to include things that aren't involved with the guy that I've been buying the electronics from. Okay, I'm going to kind of try and keep him out, because those sales, that is unfair to include those, in my opinion. Even though his products have spiked our sales extraordinarily. Where we are right now is where we were at the end of last year. And it's not even a half a year yet. So really, it's only been 4 months. In the first, third of the year, we've sold the same amount we sold in the whole year last year. So things have been good for us with these products that we've been buying from this guy. All right. Okay. The first one is called Mommy Longlegs, and it's from a God, I'm trying to remember what the series that is from, but it's from a series, Poppy or something like that. Let me see here. All right. Mommy Longlegs. It is from a series, not the band. Come on. Character. All right. Mommy Longlegs is from Poppy Playtime. Okay. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Poppy Playtime, it is, I believe it's a game. Yes. Long story short, she's a character within this group. And so when I saw this character, I recognized it immediately. And I think we found this, if I remember correctly, I think this was found in the bins, at a Goodwill bins. And knowing it was a stuffy and all that, even though it's pretty good size, I knew that I could sell it for a reasonable price and make some money. And I knew that I could also protect it, maybe with some bubble wrap or something, and fold it down into something pretty small and stick it in a poly mailer and ship it. So I knew shipping wouldn't be much. So we ended up selling this, I want to say by the time we figured it all out, it was like $3.50 or so. We paid for it. It was in great condition, and ended up selling this and making a profit of $24.58. So there we are. We're over our $20. Like I said, guys, this doesn't include the stuff from the electronics guy, because profits on that are outrageous. We've made a lot of money off that deal. But yeah, $24.58. It sold pretty fast. And then the next thing we have actually sat around for about a year also. It is a Callaway brand, quarter zip and it was actually embroidered with the Tanglewood golf course. Okay. Which I've heard of before. And so I can kind of recognize that sort of stuff. And I know that my wife knows too. She knows Callaway brand and the other golf brands. When we see those, we'll kind of look at them, but sometimes when it gets tricky when it's embroidered with a specific golf course or a company or something like that. So you kind of got to be careful. But I knew that golf course was a popular golf course. We ended up selling that and making $25.78 on it. And again, it sat around for a long time. We didn't pay very much for it, and we were able to ship it out in a poly mailer. So not a big problem there. Okay. More than happy to deal with that at any point. All right, the next item, and this is kind of one of these things that I have found that sells really well. Older GPS units, kind of weird. I've sold a Garmin one. I've sold another one, I believe, I think it was Garmin. I think I've sold a couple Garmin ones. One was really nice that I sold recently. But this is a TomTom XL. So kind of a large screen at the time, TomTom GPS. We ended up selling that puppy for not what we sold it for. We made a profit of $33.60. I want to say I paid very minimal amount of money for that. Let me see here if I can go back and find that one real quick, because I know that I didn't pay a lot for it. It was kind of one of those things I kind of saw off to the side and I said, yeah, sometimes these are worth something. Let me take a look at this. Yeah, bought it for $3.50. Bought it at our local thrift store on one of their half off days, happened to come across it, and I said, hey, wait, sometimes these sell. Let me take a look at this one. And indeed, it took a little while, but it did sell. So it's another success there. We made $33.60. Spent very little time on it. Made a good profit. All right. And the next item is a rare piece of media, like I was talking about. This is a DVD called JFK, The Case for Conspiracy. One of the things I noticed when I picked this puppy up, and we were at a thrift store, I believe, on this one, but what I noticed is, hey, wait a minute, it looks like there's an autograph in here. Now, I think I found 3 different DVDs, pieces of media that are autographed by people. Not always the most famous, maybe 4. Not always the most famous people, but like for this one, for instance, it was 82 cents to buy this thing at this thrift store. And yeah, we had it for a while. Let's see, I think we had it over a year. We did. Yeah. I think I bought this way back in January, the end of January of 2025, and for 82 cents. But it was autographed by the narrator. And so when I advertise it, that's an extra thing you can throw in there. That's a key element that can help you sell an item. But I also knew it was a kind of a rare DVD. The autograph bonus on it maybe was a $5 upcharge, but even without that, I probably still would have made $35 on this thing. But it sold. It took a year and about 3 months, but it ended up selling, and we made some money off it. Again, a rare piece of media is kind of one of those things that I'm good at finding. So, and then last but not least, this would be another vintage or rare antiquity type item that my lovely wife found. It would be a vintage Paymaster Series 8000 ribbon rider check machine. Okay, kind of an interesting thing, but we were at some garage sales, and I want to say, gosh, maybe we found this in the fall of last year, in July. No, it was, or not July, but no, yeah, we found it in fall. So September 6th of 2025. So garage sale season was ending. My wife came across this item, found it. We paid $5 for it. Now, there's some of these that can go for thousands of dollars. This wasn't one of those, but we did know that still it would sell. And of course, with as heavy and as big as it was and everything, they were going to have to pay for shipping. But, really, realistically, shipping on this wasn't that much, especially because it was going to Pennsylvania. Kind of strange, but it was, even with Ground Advantage, I think it was less than $15 to ship this thing. But we ended up making a profit on this deal of $75.66 by the time everything was done. So another great sale, another interesting vintage antiquity that my wife was able to come across and made us some good money. Didn't spend a lot of time on it. I did actually do a test. The ribbon was still good in it. I was able to do put a piece of paper in it and clunk it down, and it has the key in it that locks or unlocks the ribbon and all that. I actually unscrewed the handle off the side and packed it separately with the key so nothing would get broken. And I packed that sucker really good. So it did spend a little time packing, but we made great money off it. So no big deal. But yeah, those are the things that have worked best for us. What I can tell you, what's going to work best for you, one of the first things that I can say is you have to experience things. You have to learn through trial and error. You live and you learn, right? You experience and you learn. That's how you figure out what works best for you. And it's not going to be the same for everyone. Not everybody's going to be, I'm not as good at seeing these things that April is, my wife. She's better at finding these sorts of things. She doesn't really care much or know much about media and electronics, so I'm going to be better at that. Everybody kind of has their own thing, and you have to go through trial and error to figure it out. You're going to have some losses, guys. It's going to happen. That's just kind of how it goes. You figure it out through experience. One thing that's really been good for us is being picky. Being picky is bringing us more profit. Number one, it takes up less inventory space. We spend less time on it. We're more assured when we purchase it that it's worth something. But I bet occasionally we do miss things because of that. They're easy finds. It's just we're just being more picky for a lot of reasons. Sometimes that can work for you too. But your gut, ultimately, that's what's going to lead you in the right direction. And your gut is going to learn and become better at helping you figure things out through experience and through trial and error. You have to go out and you have to do this and you have to try this. You have to have some money saved up to purchase inventory. You have to deal with that. And don't put yourself in a position where you can't, pay rent or pay your mortgage or something because you have too much in inventory. Don't do that. You have to have this as extra side money. Maybe you can only, eat ramen for a few weeks to save up enough money to go out and hit some garage sales and buy a lot of inventory. But you want to buy it with liquid assets. You don't want to be, I get these ads all the time. Hey, take out some eBay credit and buy some inventory. No, not going to do that. Granted, don't have to. I'm fortunate enough to not have to. But even if I did have to, I don't think I would, because I think it's not a good idea. You're really putting yourself in a bad position, I think, by doing that. So you really want to think about that. Don't do that sort of thing. Don't put it on credit. Don't get a loan. Take liquid assets that you have, and that's how you purchase inventory. Now, you can buy inventory and make profits on eBay or whatever you choose to sell on, and that money you can use to reinvest in inventory. But don't borrow money to buy inventory. If you're doing that, you might succeed and you might do great, but it's dangerous. I mean, maybe on a huge purchase that is a slam dunk sale and, has a $5,000 or 5,000%, resale possibility. Maybe, but just be careful, be smart, use your gut. Okay. The Evan Realities glasses, they are working great for me. I'm actually using them right now as I deliver this podcast to you guys. I'm using a feature on them called teleprompter. So I have some notes in there, and while I'm sitting here talking to you in this microphone, I have those notes going before my eyes, and I can kind of read just the key points of what I'm discussing with you. But they work great. I'm still working with them to try and get them to work more in the resale arena. I can use them at any time. I can actually say the magic word and then ask the AI, hey, what's the online resale value of this item, make and model number, and it'll kind of give me an idea. And hey, is that item selling a lot right now currently? That sort of thing. I can do that, but I want it to be a little bit more smooth. I want to be able to take like some photos that I've taken or photos I take when I'm out and about, and I want the AI to take those photos and go research it real quick for me and give me an idea of the product, what it's called, all that. Give me a rough idea of what it thinks, how this item is selling, how it's been selling, what it's been selling for, and then counteract that maybe with a little extra research on my own, using the eBay app or something along those lines to determine whether or not this is a smart item to purchase. But I'm still working on that, and I haven't had a lot of time. We got our last kids graduating senior this year. After all that's done, we're immediately hopping on a cruise ship for a week to hit some places in Mexico and enjoy ourselves as a family, a huge family trip for the last time. We get back, we got a graduation party to have, and we're just busy, really all the way through June this year. We're pretty busy, so I haven't had a lot of time to spend using Claude Code or something along those lines to help me create some sort of application to help me do those things. But I will. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Another thing that's recently happened for the business, I had the Nikon Coolpix P950 camera. It's a great camera. It's the first Nikon I've ever had, and I don't really like the UI on Nikons. I can tell you that. So, but again, it's only the first time I've ever used one. So I didn't really care a whole lot for that. But the other issue I had with it, I thought would be a benefit for me, was the zoom lens. And I think it hindered a little bit in the small area that I have set up to take photographs of products to list. I think it kind of hindered the image appearance. I noticed when I was taking pictures with it, it was pretty soft, not sharp, clear pictures, a little bit blurry. And that's kind of hard the way that I do my pictures for listings. That's not going to work for me. So I had to change, and I had to change something fast. And that was really the only camera I had. So what I ultimately ended up doing is a little bit of research online. I'm kind of into point and shoots. I don't really want to carry extra lenses and stuff. I don't want to interchange lenses. The P950 is a point and shoot. Great camera, again, but just not for me. So I have it up for sale right now on eBay, and I'm sure we'll sell it. But I actually purchased a Sony RX100 Mark VII. It is a very small point and shoot. Smaller than my phone, really. I mean, thicker because of the lens and everything. Has a super high optical zoom for what it is. It's remarkable that anything has this kind of zoom on it. I mean, it kind of floors me, the zoom on this thing. And it has a lot of other features within it that you typically wouldn't find on a camera that size and on a point and shoot. And yeah, so it has a Zeiss lens, of course. That's kind of Sony's thing. But it has a high magnification zoom lens simulating. It's got a 1-inch sensor, okay, first off. But the lens simulates 24 millimeters to 200 millimeters zoom. So almost 10 times zoom, which is crazy. It has a super crazy autofocus speed. It has a super fast burst capture, single burst shooting captures. You can get up to 90 frames a second with that, which is crazy. It does touch tracking. It does eye tracking for portraits and stuff like that. The CMOS sensor in it, like I said, 1-inch, 20.1 megapixels, which is great. It does 4K recording as well, up to 30 frames. I prefer to shoot when I do video in 24 frames a second, so much like motion pictures or film. It has HDR, of course, as well. It has a mic jack. Super slow motion, too, which is great. Won't use that a lot for the business, but pretty cool. You can go up to 960 frames a second. My understanding on that is the resolution really suffers, but but still, you can do. I think you can do 240 frames a second in full 1080p HD, which is nuts. And it has image stabilization as well. It's just a great camera. And I watched some. Now the camera's been around a while, which is crazy. It has a micro USB port on the side of it for connectivity and for charging, which is nuts. I don't think it charges in the camera anymore, but I think you can power it through that. But yeah, even the battery that came with it and the little battery charger that came with it, it was micro USB port on the outside, and it came with a micro USB cable. Kind of weird. But it's been around since 2019, so it's going on 7 years old. But I did get a brand new one in the box. I wish it had USB-C, but that's okay. I will never really use it that way anyway. I bought an external 3-bay battery charger that is USB-C, so I can carry that along with me. Takes SD cards, SDXC, super fast SD cards, which are very expensive right now, by the way. But yeah, I mean, it's a great camera, and it's so small. The other crazy thing about it is it has a pop-up flash that is just tiny. You wouldn't even know it was there if no one told you it was there. And most remarkably is this. Almost all modern point-and-shoot cameras are just a big screen on the back. They don't really have viewfinders anymore. This one actually has an electronic viewfinder. It it acts as a power button. So it's on the top left side. You push down. If the camera's off, you push down on this, it pops up. There's your electronic viewfinder, and the camera turns on. And then it'll turn off, too, when you shut it if you want. But it's just an amazing little device. Now, granted, it was more than twice as much as that Nikon P950 was. It's not a cheap camera. If you look around, you can find some used ones. I'm picky in that respect, so I wanted a new one. I made a deal with an online camera reseller company out of Maine called Abe's of Maine. I made a deal with them on it, and they gave me a 3-year basic warranty. So I'm covered for a while, but all said and done, it's about a $1,500 camera, which is very expensive for a point and shoot. You're talking, that's like Leica money, right? That's like a Leica camera. But it is like a Leica camera, to be honest with you. It's an amazing device. Highly recommend it. But anyway, I got that. I got a case separately for it that's really great. I got a, not really a cage, but a little handle thing you can clamp on the bottom because there's really no grip on it. But I got that screwed on there. And then you can just put your tripod in or do other sorts of mounts on it if you want for light or microphone. But yeah, it's just incredible. And I also was able to get a CPL, which is if you're not familiar with what that is a filter that you get for it, that you can, this particular one, usually you screw them on the end of your lens. Like I had one for the P950 and it's installed actually for whoever buys it next, but just kind of screws on the end. Basically what a CPL filter does is it will actually help you by rotating it. You can adjust to cut the glare and reduce the reflections on surfaces that are non-metallic, so water or glass. It can also help increase the saturation, and it really for blue skies and for green, like foliage, that sort of thing, massively can affect that. But I highly recommend, if you have a camera, whether it's a point and shoot or whatever, get yourself a CPL filter. It's pretty cool. You just screw it on the front, and then when you're out taking pictures or wherever you're taking pictures, you just grab that filter and you can kind of turn it to the left or right to adjust your shot. You'd be surprised, like the most drastic things that I've realized with it are like if you're shooting and there's a pond or a lake nearby in the foreground or somewhere, you can actually turn this thing and you can actually see into the water a little bit. It cuts the glare off the top of it, so you can see down into the water in addition to seeing, bright blue skies and all that other stuff and green foliage. You can kind of change the glare on these objects, which is nuts. I think it's amazing. I would highly recommend it. And that was kind of one of the things I'm like, I have to have that if I get this camera, because not only am I going to use it in the studio here to take pictures of products, but I'm going to use it out and about for family stuff, which is the first time I've used it, by the way. I took some pictures of my daughter and her friends for her last prom this last weekend. I didn't have the CPL filter yet, which kind of sucked, but it's okay. This camera is amazing, and I'll tell you what else is amazing is AI. In Photoshop, the ability to go in and in some of these, we were at a very public place, and there were lots of people there taking their prom pictures too. It was at the Art Institute, or the Art Museum here in town, Nelson Atkins Art Museum in Kansas City. Great place if you've never been there. If you ever see, if you're not from here, if you ever see a game, sometimes they'll cut away and they'll show, sights of Kansas City. They show barbecue every time, of course, but they'll show the Nelson Atkins Art Museum. The way you can recognize it is the giant shuttlecocks. It's a artistic sculpture, or a series of them in the yard and near the building, the art museum building. And it's these giant shuttlecocks. And so those are in some of the pictures that we took as well. But what I was able to do is when they were out, my daughter and her friends, and we were taking pictures of this group or just with my daughter and her boyfriend, I just ignored what was going on in the background because I knew later I could remove it. I didn't know how good I could remove it. I thought I was going to have to do it all by hand. And there is an aspect of that, but basically you just have to outline what you want to get rid of and then click a button that says remove. So, and I'll put this in the photo album. One of the things that I was able to remove was this lady laying on a blanket nearby in the background on this picture, and her butt is practically hanging out of her shorts. She's laying on her stomach and her ass is hanging out of her shorts. And I was like, oh God. So yeah, I just kind of circled her with the selection tool and hit remove, and she was gone, and her blanket and everything was gone there, and it was just more of the field. It's amazing. But yeah, in addition to that, I mean, the camera took amazing pictures, and I was pretty floored. Now I have the CPL filter. It came in after the weekend, of course, and I installed it yesterday. Basically, you just have kind of a 3M sticker ring that you have to put on the front of the lens that comes out and everything. You got to center it really well because it's going to close with this thing on it. And then it's magnetic, so you have your CPL filter with you in your bag or whatever, or attached to your case. And then you just pop that thing out and snap right on the front. It just magnetically attaches, and then you can adjust when you're taking your shots. So pretty cool. I got that. I got the hand grip thing. I got the case. And I also got the battery charger and the extra batteries. So I have 3 batteries now for this thing. And all of that together. Oh, and I did have to go get another super fast SD card, which is an issue right now. Solid state type memory or storage is very expensive right now. The reason being, it's what's used for AI, for GPUs, for AI. So it's gone way up. Cards, these SD cards that would have cost $30, a month ago, they're now $120. So everything's gone way, way up. I got really lucky. I went to go to Micro Center nearby us, and I was just going to get a 128 gig card in one of these super fast ones. Because I noticed when I was taking pictures with the camera, it was kind of struggling to keep up writing it to the memory card. So sometimes I had to wait. And it's because the speeds weren't fast enough on this card. So I needed one that was a lot faster. So I went to go buy a 128 gig one for $60, which is nuts. I mean, seriously, that's like $10 to $15 card a month ago. Anyway, I went to go buy one of those, and they had the older model of the same type of card, but it's still super duper fast. And they had a 256 gig one for just $11 more than that, so I bought that. So I've got a faster card now, and I have 2 of those that are really fast that can shoot everything on this respectively. Because when you hit the button on this thing, it's just like you can hear the pictures. For example, I probably took 3,000 pictures that day. I went out and shot these pictures, and it's just because I was holding the shutter button down. It's insane how fast it moves. Picked out about 81 solid pics out of that, so those were going to be the final. But yeah, pretty nuts. So I was able to pick up another memory card. Sorry, I went way off on a tangent there. I apologize, guys. But, probably you're not going to hear from me for a little bit after this. We got that big cruise coming up. I appreciate you guys listening. Appreciate all the support, all that. The podcast is doing great. Getting lots of listens each time, which is awesome. With this cruise coming up and everything, probably going to be looking at June before you hear from me again. But after that, we're going to be back here. Kids are going to be working all summer. We're going to be working. We're going to take some little trips here and there, weekend trips and stuff. And we're going to go out and hit some garage sales and some stuff like that to stock up. We're going to be cleaning up the inventory we already have, getting things sorted out a little bit better, shelved up better, so we know where everything is, and we got plenty of room. And then we're probably going to be looking at doing some live sales, utilizing the Sony camera that I'm talking about, and doing some live sales to help clear out some of the stock that we've had sitting around for a while that's not moving. So that's what's on the future for us. Better pictures, better ability to find things when I'm out and about at thrift stores or garage sales or flea markets or wherever. And then, some of these live sales to get rid of some of the stuff that's been sitting around a while. But it's going to be a while, so I appreciate you guys listening. It's going to be about a month or so before you hear from me again. There are some Dad Snark podcasts out there to go listen to. I highly suggest that. I'll put a link to one in the notes, so go listen to that if you get a chance. And I will talk to you guys again in June. Thank you very much. Take it easy.
Yeah, we got the hot finds, hawk picks, leaving